For starting a couple of minutes late. After I'm done, Mr. Eagle, I would gladly meet with you. No, after I'm done, we will definitely have a conversation. And that's what we want, and and that's what we want to talk about today, and I will talk to you absolutely afterwards. In fact, Mr. Eagle, I plan on mentioning your proposal that you mentioned today. I'm glad you're here. I plan on talking about your proposal, mentioning your proposal today. Thank you very much. Yeah, and Mr. Eagle, I even have a line here from your proposal. But so thank you. Community-based efforts in the implementation. That you mentioned, Mr. Eagle, so I'm glad you're here. Thank you. And I look forward to talking to you afterwards. I want to thank everyone for being here today. For the year anniversary of the RASE Commission, I want to remind everyone that I've been in office 75 days. The RASE process started before me. I sure would have loved to have grace in a honeymoon, but I guess that's not happening. I've been in office 75 days. And I'm glad to be able to be here to talk about the RASE Commission in their first year, and then talk about steps going forward, but also to talk about the things that the City of Rochester has done thus far. And in fact, one of the things I was going to do, but Mr. Eagle introduced himself, was I was going to thank the commissioners who took time to serve on this 21-person commission, Arlene Santiago, Bill Johnson, as well as Mohammed Shafiq. And then I wanted to thank the organizations that during my transition period that I met with. The Power Brokers, the Take It Down Planning Committee, Rock Acts, and other organizations that put forth proposals on what they thought needed to be done in order to go forward. So I want to thank those organizations for informing me. The one-year anniversary of the RASE Commission, as you know, is coming upon us. It was 241 pages of documents in that document and had lots of recommendations. And one of the things that I said was, when I became mayor, that I was not going to come in new and say, you know what, we're going to get rid of this. We're just going to put it away. Because I heard from so many people in the community that said, Mayor, this is a unique opportunity for this work to be able to continue. And we hope that you would do that in consultation with the county executive, and I agreed to that. So I want to thank those folks. The county executive is going to talk about what the county has done. We're then going to talk about some of the things that the city has done directly related to the recommendations. And then we're going to talk about the next steps in the process that so many people in the community have talked to me about, and how we're going to move forward to make sure that we move from not just a document that sits on a shelf, but one that can actually be implemented and built upon by investments that we can continue to make. And then we need to talk about also how we are going to engage other folks in the community, particularly in the education arena, to make sure that we can hit all of the pieces that don't involve government. So I want to turn it over to the county executive, and then I will come back and talk about where we are so far with the recommendations as the city, but then more importantly talk about the step that we need to be able to go forward. Mr. County Executive.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Evans, for hosting us here today, and I want to thank the mayor for his partnership and leadership here in the city of Rochester. I feel like we see each other almost every day, so it's a good thing, because I'm a firm believer that so goes the city of Rochester, so goes the county of Monroe. I really want to give a real heartfelt thank you to Bill Johnson, Arlene Santiago, and Dr. Mohammed Shafiq, who are the chairs of the RACE Commission that we asked to serve in this capacity. And, you know, I think when we picked up the phone and called them and asked them to help us put together this real transformational report and document of recommendations that the governments can do, the county, the city, but also the community, to help tear down barriers and make a more equitable community for everyone. I don't think they quite knew how much this was going to take over their lives, and I want to thank them for their work. It's always wonderful to be, too, with all of our commissioners who put so much of their time, heart, soul, and energy into this report, and, of course, the community as well. Thanks to your work, current and future generations of Monroe County residents, they're going to have more opportunities to live in an equitable world that has been created by these commissioners. The report released just a year ago sent a message that our community can and it must do better. And I'm pleased to report that Monroe County has done so much to implement the Commission's recommendations, but of course we still have so much work to do. Despite our necessary focus on COVID over the last 2 years, which started less than 3 months after my tenure began as county executive, we've made implementing the Commission's recommendations a top priority. We've made great progress in our mission to make Monroe County more equitable. So let's review, and I want to review with the public some of those things that we've done. The Commission recommended Monroe County create an Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. We created this department more than a year ago, and then we also were able to hire our county's first ever DE&I director. At the Commission's recommendation, the DE&I now works with every county department to create a diversity action plan that will root out systemic inequities while paving new pathways for more inclusive decision-making. Along with the help of the DE&I created a certification program for minority and women-owned businesses, our MWBEs, making it easier for our minority and women-owned businesses to do business with the county and with local governments. This cuts down on the bureaucratic process faced by New York State, makes it so much easier for those MWBs who are local to participate in government projects. This will level the playing field for bidding on government contracts. This spring, we're hosting MWB job fairs so our business owners can be connected to these opportunities. The Commission recommended the county pay a livable wage to all of our staff in the Department of Public Health and Monroe Community Hospital. But we did beyond that. We raised the minimum wage for all county employees to $15 an hour, effective January 1st of this year. The Commission also asked us to invest in training to help employ more people of color in healthcare. Our Empower program in partnership with MCC is doing this right now, giving students the ability to earn as they learn into existing jobs in the healthcare field, which they are placed in as soon as they graduate. So we can take people, pay them while they learn, and move them right into one of those many thousands of existing jobs that exist right now in our community, creating that pipeline to work. The Commission recommended the redesign of our Department of Human Services to make it more user-friendly. This is a huge task. One thing that we learned over and over again, something I knew when I was campaigning for this job, is that our system has to work for the people using it, not the people working in it, right? Think about that young mom, that has a young child that needs to apply for benefits, that has to figure out how to get on a bus and transfer a bus and make it downtown to the Department of Social Service building, to wait in a line that they don't know how long that line is, to see if they have the documents that they might not have to apply for benefits that they're entitled to then get back home. We need to rewrite the script, redesign the process and the system so we push our services out to where people are, so we go to them so they don't have to go to us. Last summer, we kicked off that redesign process. We're working with the systems integration team to get that done. We've increased our efforts at language access, making sure that we're using translation services so that all of our residents, all of them, have access to the critical information, particularly around emergency issues that are happening in our community. But our work is not done. We have a complete list of the Monroe County and City of Rochester actions in response to the committee's recommendations that we're distributing today. They can also be found on the county and the city websites. This is really a great first step. We wanted to make sure the community knew of all the different efforts that were going in. Oftentimes, I'll just say this before I turn it back over to the mayor. Oftentimes, governments do a lot of reports, and then they sit on a shelf, right? And we have these great recommendations, and then for a lack of money, a lack of focus, a lack of attention, they sit on a shelf. The point of the RACE Commission was to take these recommendations as a roadmap and a guidepost for us to implement and make real change in our community. We've started that work. We are so proud of the number of recommendations that we've been able to check off over the course of the last year. But our work here is not done. With that, I'm going to turn it back over to Mayor Evans, who's going to talk a little bit more about the city's implementation, and then building on that, our work not being done yet, what the future of the Race Commission report and recommendations will look like.
Thank you. And you know, it was stated by, I think, someone that was on the commission that said this belongs to the community, and I absolutely believe that, because there are a lot of recommendations that the government can do, but there's some that the community will have to put pressure on us to be able to change. I also just want to highlight briefly, and I'm not going to go through them all because you all will be handed out the progress. This is the first report, progress report, on some of the things that the city has done in response to some of the recommendations. We have allocated a good amount of dollars, over $70 million so far, to some of these recommendations. And I'm just going to go through some of them, and then more importantly, I'm going to talk about the next steps that we will take to keep the Race Commission alive and to include other folks. In addition to, over the past year, we've allocated $76 million in investments from RASE recommendations. One of the big ones was to increase the minimum wage for the city employees to $15 an hour, which we have done. Increasing access to the city's financial assistance, including the Kiva program, support and targeted business revitalization grants, the Buy the Block initiative, which will increase the stock of affordable homes for purchase. This is geared mainly in the Northeast, and requests for proposals will go out there. As you know, the Northeast has seen a significant amount of disinvestment over the past 50 years, and you have lots of vacant lots there, and the idea is that we will focus in on the Northeast for home ownership. Funding for the comprehensive developmental screenings through GROW, reinvigorating the Career and Pathways to Public Safety program. That is a program that is in partnership with the Rochester City School District that works to get young people involved in careers in public safety, and specifically 911, police, and fire, and also working on areas around trauma and assistance. There will be a lot more investments that we will need to make, and we will continue to measure them and report out. You have the report here. Now, one of the things that I heard over and over again from folks was that we needed, going forward, a community-based effort in the implementation, and that we should re-engage with the commissioners that were involved with RASE, but also engage with those who are typically left out of these groups and not able to really participate in some of the conversations. So we heard you. We think that that is absolutely critical and important, and we have acted upon those recommendations and remain committed to doing our part to continue to implement not only the recommendations, but being able to move forward. So we have an organization called the Cedar Grove Institute for Sustainability that is going to help us get this group up and running. But it's also important that we connect with a nonprofit organization that can help facilitate the large numbers of people that are that are going to be interested in seeing this implementation council move forward. The city will commit some folks. The county will commit some folks. We have an internal team here at the city, and our internal team looks forward to working with this new group that will be constituted to work on the implementation of the rest of the recommendations that are there. One piece that was missing and we need to work on is the education piece. I believe it was the Take It Down Planning Committee that wrote a critique around the education piece. I had conversations with Dr. Leslie Meyer-Small. She requested a meeting with myself and the county executive because the education piece is a piece that is absolutely critical if we're going to talk about structural equity and racism in our community. We can't have this conversation without education, and the superintendent has agreed that she is interested in being a part of those conversations and moving forward. That is a piece of the Race Commission that, to me, is unfinished business, that we still have to make sure that we focus on, and I hope that this implementation team and the sub-teams that come out of it will be able to do that. So this team, which will include representatives from both the city and county, and also an expanded community participation to help look at the recommendations, to help set the priorities, and devise an online dashboard so we can track and report to the community on a regular basis. One of the challenges that we have is if we don't report back to the community, they think it's just sitting on a shelf. And they need to hear what we're doing. So I've asked Dr. Chanel Hawkins and her team at the Urban League to help us convene this group, to help us to be able to host this so it will actually become a community process. So today I want to announce that we are going to be moving this to a community process with government still involved, because this report needs to outlast me, because if I decide I want to retire and go to Florida, RASE shouldn't go away. The county executive decides that he's going to Texas or he wants to put his feet up, RASE, don't go to Texas, but maybe a better place. This needs to be able to live. This cannot be, we don't want this to be the Crimi report. We don't want this to be the call to action. We don't want this to be the 100 volunteers. We've had all of these reports. And I've said in my first 75 days, no more of that. We're going to do it. The proof will be in the pudding. It's not going to be easy. Dr. Hawkins has told me she understands that it might be messy, but it's going to be a lot of folks trying to see how they can continue to work on the implementation pieces of this effort. And the last thing I want to announce from the city side is, because money talks. Now, we've invested $75 million, but money talks. So we're going to invest an additional $2 million in RACE Commission to help get some of these recommendations moving, and we hope that that will be a carrot to get the community involved, so that way they can see some of the things that they want to be able to move forward as we put this team together. It won't be easy, but if it was easy, we would have been able to do it 50 years ago. But we're sending a clear message that we want the community to own this implementation part, but that the city and county aren't going to walk away, but we're going to be there at the table. But this will be a community-led process to make sure that we are able to check off more of the recommendations that are there, and that we're able to expand some of the things that have not been able to be addressed, such as in the business community and particularly in the educational community. That is absolutely critical. I am anxious to continue our work at the city as we dig deeper to eliminate systemically racist policies and practices. I also look forward to expanding the community involvement on this project. As I said, these recommendations were created by the community, and we need the entire community to step up and be a part of the implementation team, and I think that they're interested in it, as by evidence as all of the groups that reached out to me. They were interested, and they want to be involved and want to make sure that this does not sit on the shelf. So if you want to get involved, please know that you are welcome to be a part of this important work. We need your help to make Rochester, Monroe County a community that embraces its diversity and recognizes the diversity of our strength. We are not all going to agree on how we want to get there, but I think we do agree that some of those recommendations are things that we need to be able to implement. And if folks want to stand in the way of those recommendations, we'll have to figure out how we get it done anyway. And that will be the different part. I strongly encourage you to throw your hat in the ring to join this effort now. And we are going to work on making sure that the website is up, running, functioning, and that people are communicated with. It's going to be at rockraise.com, and we will take the next steps to make sure that we can be able to really have a truly equitable community. This is going to be a lot of work. This is going to be a gargantuan task. I want to thank Sean for helping to communicate this. And the other reason why the Urban League makes sense in this is that they have something called, Sean, Interrupt Racism. So they're working on this now, and this is a way for all of our community to be at a trusted organization with over 50 years here in our community, trusted nationally, and able to convene folks. And I know they won't be upset to say, Mr. Mayor or Mr. County Executive, we got a problem here with this recommendation. What are you going to do about it? That's what we need. And I'm so excited that we are going to take this next step. I'm also going to ask that you guys give me just a little bit of grace, because I've been in this 75 days, and you saw all that I've had to deal with. But I think that we are moving in the right direction to be able to make sure that we bridge this. Bridge building just can't be words that we say. It has to be something that we demonstrated. And I've hoped that I've demonstrated that today from all of the recommendations that we've had, all of the groups that I've sat down and talked with. And I hope that all those that want to be involved in this process will have a seat at the table to be involved in this process. I just want to point out my team at City Hall that has been helping out with the process. Our Director of Human Resources, Rose Nichols, Chief of Staff, Tammy Mayberry, Director of Special Projects, Liliana Ruiz, John Brock. They have been on our internal team to make sure that we move this forward. One of the things we realize is that it just can't be one or two people. You got to have a team here. So if, God forbid, they decide they want to go somewhere else, the internal work can be able to continue, and we've been working with our counterparts at the county. So I'm excited about this. I'm looking forward to moving this forward. I'm going to turn it over to the county executive to make some final comments that he may have, and then I'll take a couple of other questions, and then I got to go visit another school, and then I look forward to having conversations with all of you about how we continue to move this work forward. Mr. County Executive.
Thank you, Mayor. And, I just want to echo the Mayor's enthusiasm for the future of the report and his call to action for the community to get the community involved. And I cannot thank Dr. Hawkins enough for stepping forward and being part of this. What an incredible, incredible resource you are at the Urban League and the whole organization, and to hold us accountable but work with us in the community, because oftentimes people look to government, that government can do all these things alone. Government can't do it alone. We need the community to work with us to make a real difference. So we're calling on the community to get involved. Please come to rockrace.com, raise your hand, and help us in the next year of our implementation of the RACE Commission. We're at a pivotal time here in Monroe County. We're celebrating the county's bicentennial year. We've weathered COVID. We're positioning ourselves in our community for another successful 200 years. Monroe County has been a great place to be for 200 years, but I believe it can be even better as we enter the next 2 centuries. But that has to mean that everybody has a seat at the table. We're talking about jobs, healthcare, education. The conversation has to be had with the community. Monroe County is committed to working through this report. Our commissioners committed themselves to these recommendations. We're committed to implementation, because I believe the future of Monroe County and the city of Rochester is bright. The point being here today, we are committed to the RACE report and moving forward and inviting the community in as part of that process. So thank you very much. I want to thank you, Mayor, and thank you again, Dr. Hawkins, for your leadership and support here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep. Thank you, Mayor. And I'll take 2 questions. I am on a tight time frame. Questions from media? Anything? Okay. Thank you so much. Very good. Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate it, and I look forward to our continued engagement. Thank you.